Hello, my name is Annie, and today in the Steel Made Kitchen, I am going to be making carne asada. Okay, so carne asada is mainly just the seasoning that you use when you're cooking and prepping either flank steak or skirt steak. It's awesome for burritos and tacos, quesadillas, anything that's kind of Hispanic in nature, because that's what the seasonings are like. And it's really quick and easy to cook on the flat top. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. And if you want a quick meal that everybody will eat very fast and a lot of, this is what you want to make. So my first step is I'm going to go ahead and start my burners to heat up the flat top. And then I'm going to talk about marinating the steak. And you will want to marinate your steak at least 2 hours prior to cooking. I have one that is already marinated that I'll use for the video, but I have one that's not, so I can show you kind of what I do and show you which wonderful products that we offer that you can use on your steak, flank steak or skirt steak to make the carne asada. Again, when you're heating up your flat top, make sure you're giving it time to heat slowly. Don't turn it all the way to hot. You will warp the flat top to high if you have it on high heat. So please make sure that you start at a medium heat kind of. This is a steak, so I want a sear on it. If you're using a flank steak, they're better served rare, medium rare. If you're using a skirt steak, they cook fairly quickly. And today I have skirt steak, so they can be cooked on well done and be okay because they do cook quite fast, but I wouldn't worry about it if it is medium rare. That's kind of what we go for in our family. So just try to look for that. While you're cooking, it should only take about 10 minutes in total to cook the entire little steak that they're big, entire flank steak or skirt steak that you're going to be using to make the carne asada. Okay, so let's talk about marinating the skirt steak or the flank steak. I'm gonna set these to the side so they don't get super hot. This is heating up on medium low, because when you're using a gas stove, that open flame heats pretty quickly. So I'm going to turn that down a little bit. And remember to turn on all burners when cooking, not just one side. Even though I am only cooking one thing and I won't be using the entire flat top, turn on all the burners because you don't want any warpage issues. We do have tips and reasons for that on our website, so check that out if you need to know why that is. So first of all, I have a skirt steak here. And it's, as you can tell, a nice big long skirt steak. Skirt steak has a lot of fat in it, which is why you can kind of make it more well done. If your family prefers well done meat, I would go with a skirt steak. Flank steak doesn't have as much fat, it's much more lean, so I would go with the medium rare if you can do that, if that's how you like your steak in your family. So when you are seasoning, you can either purchase individual seasonings such as cumin, oregano, salt, pepper, garlic, and spices, any other spices that you like to include, but you also need a citrus when you're making carne asada. So I have actually a special product that we're gonna get ready to launch pretty soon here, which is the Bet Your Asada seasoning from Llama Licks, which will be listed on the Fire Bee Honey site. So feel free to check that out soon. We'll have a lot of different seasonings, but this is great because it has everything I need for carne asada, including lime powder, which is what I need, which is the citrus. So I don't have to add citrus in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a little olive oil. And then I'm going to add my carne asada. And I like, when I'm marinating now, if I just wanted to sprinkle this on the meat, which I'll do later, I would leave that sifter on there, but right now I'm gonna take it off because I'm really gonna pour it on there. And I'm gonna spread it around. And my hands are gonna get really nice and juicy and dirty, which is kind of what we want. Now you need to season to taste, so use your own judgment on that. You can kind of taste a little bit of the seasoning. There is salt and pepper within it, so I'm not going to add salt to this, but I will add salt when I am cooking. All right, so I'm rubbing that, generously seasoned the meat with that seasoning. You can see all the nice flecks of dried cilantro in there. You can see the fresh cracked black pepper, and I can smell it. It smells great. And so what you would want to do after seasoning this is cover it, put it in your fridge for at least 2 hours prior to cooking. And if you need more time, like if you want to make it the day before or something, or just have it in the fridge ready to go for a day where things are a little bit more hectic, I would go ahead and just cover it and keep it into your fridge up to about, I think, a couple days, and you'll be safe. Okay, I just washed my hands because I had a lot of olive oil on there, even though they're still gonna get dirty again in just a minute here. But I'm gonna go ahead and throw on some butter and some olive oil onto the surface of the flat top and get it melting, because that's what I like to use when cooking or searing a steak. There's a lot of fat on here, so you don't need to really introduce too much fats, but I still like to use a little bit. I like the taste of it mostly. For me, it's mostly taste. And I'm going to crush a little garlic and get that going. So that's all melting really good. I kind of wanted to see what temperature I'm at right now just by the sizzle and the bubble and melting of the butter. So I'm gonna crush some garlic. It's gonna get a little loud for a second. Oh, it didn't. That was very anticlimactic. Usually it makes a big boom. All right. Now I brought out the skirt steak that I already had. This is some garlic I'm just gonna pour on there. I just like to use garlic with steak as well. But I had some skirt steak already marinated. I marinated it overnight in preparation for this video. Again, you really don't need overnight. It tastes better if you do. Okay, so I have the garlic and the butter kind of cooking a little bit here. I want to gauge how much or how hot that is getting by watching the sizzle on there. I want to mention I have spicy honey sitting here. This Fire Spicy Honey, which you all know that I love if you've seen me do any kind of cooking videos or anything like that at all. This spicy honey you can get at firebeehoney.com. It is fantastic, especially on meat. So I chose to put some in my marinade last night. So this steak did have some in there because honey breaks down the meat and makes it much more tender, but you don't have to do that. But I do highly suggest applying the spicy honey prior to cooking, because that'll help with the caramelization. It brings out such a great flavor. It goes wonderfully with any kind of Mexican or Hispanic food. You can't go wrong with it. So I'm going to add a little bit on there right now in preparation of cooking it on the flat top. So I'm just going to drizzle a little on there, and I'll kind of rub it around as we cook, and I might add a little bit more on as I turn it over. So it looks like everything's getting warm enough. Okay, so I'm going to spread this out and make sure it's all cooking really well, and figure out where I'm going to lay my steak. Because it is a pretty big and long steak, so I want to make sure all this flavoring is being spread out through all of it. And it is good temperature right now. Set these over to the lower side over here. I'm going to test it with a little water. I want to see the sizzle, see what I'm working with. I need a little bit more time to heat it up. Just about there. That garlic smells really, really great. Yep, just need a little bit more time. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move this off to the side and cut this steak. Now this is a pretty big skirt steak. Make sure that honey gets really all over it. I never said this was going to be a clean cooking experience, as you can tell, but it'll taste good. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna lay this on here very carefully. Just make sure that when you lay food or steak down that you lay it away from you and not towards you to spray any kind of grease or butter or anything, because everything will sputter out there. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay that on there. Right on top of some of that garlic. Nice. Okay, so I'm gonna let that sear for just a few minutes, and I'm gonna cut some stuff for some pico over here, some vegetables, and then that's pretty much it with this dish. It's super easy. So let's go back over, and I'm gonna cut some of these on the cutting board while that sears. Okay, so pico is super easy. We're just gonna cut up some tomato and some onion and some cilantro and combine all of that. Please don't make fun of my cutting skills. As I've said before, I am just a home chef, so I have no culinary background at all. I grew up in a family of 8 kids. We did have to cut everything to help mom with dinner every night, but I mean, we did it as easily as possible. And I don't like to risk, I hate when some skin of the onion gets in there, so I peel a whole layer off. I know, wasteful, but picky. Toss that off to the side. And get rid of these garlic. All right. And fortunately, onions don't make me cry, so I always got to cut up the onions at home. I don't know what it is why some people cry and some don't, but I do not. So I used to cut it for salads and all of our meals at home all the time because my mom would cry. And so did some of my sisters. I don't know if my brothers did, but I'm pretty sure most of them did. Okay, so I like it pretty chunky. I don't mind some bigger pieces in there, and I'm just going to toss that in. It's a lot of onion, but it'll mix it nice. Okay, and then I need to slice up some of these beautiful little tomatoes. You can do a bigger tomato. I just like them to look really red. So I prefer to, I should use the plate method and slice them in half, but I'm not going to do that. It gets messy. All right, while I'm cooking, I'm gonna keep an eye on that steak. I see the sides caramelizing, and I wanna cook it almost all the way through on one side, and then I'll cook the other side and kind of sear it a little bit, but then that's about it for that. It doesn't need much more after that because I want it to be somewhat rare. But that's personal preference. Again, if you like it more well done, get a skirt steak and have it more well done, or cook it a little bit longer. Now I gotta add a little bit of cilantro in here. Some people hate cilantro. I love it. So I tend to add more than what you usually should, but it is one of my favorites, especially in a salsa, for sure. And you do not need to stem cilantro. You can do stem and leaves all together. I used to think you had to take them off the stems, but that is definitely not necessary. All right, that's probably enough there. I'm gonna add some lime juice. I like quite a bit of lime juice. Oh, that steak smells good and sounds good. I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil. And then we need to mix, which I'll use this for the avocado as well. Ooh, nice sizzle. All right, that looks wonderful. And then the last part of the pico is I need to add some salt and pepper, so I'll do that. Now pico's really the best if you make it and then kind of let it sit in the fridge overnight, because those tomatoes and the salt will mix really well. But fresh pico, you can't go wrong with that either. All right, so that steak sounds like it is ready to turn over. And I'm going to do that right now. Got a nice char on there. That looks fantastic. That's what I wanted, because we will slice this up. So all we're gonna do at this point is we're gonna get that other side done, and then we're gonna slice this up and prep it for tacos, burritos, whatever you want. I'm actually gonna add a little bit of honey to the top there. And a little tip, if you're cooking and wanting to pour honey on top of anything, or you need it to pour quickly, I heated up my honey for about 30 seconds, because in general honey is such a thick substance that it just will pour a little slower. So just a little tip is if you want it to pour faster, I would heat it up in the microwave for literally 30 seconds. It does not need any more than that. And then it'll pour really quickly and very easily. Okay, something that is super important about steak is that you always have to let it rest. So I took it off of the burners and I am now going to make sure that it has about 5 to 10 minutes to rest. If you cut into it too fast, you're gonna have a really tough steak. So if you want that nice tender steak when chewing into everything, let it rest for about 10 minutes. You'll see juices flow out. Those are the good things. Don't worry about that. That's all supposed to happen. Okay, while the steak is resting, I'm gonna go ahead and fry up some tortillas. I got some oil already on here and I got some, the juices from the steak and I wanna use that. So I'm gonna rub the oil on both sides, really get in there and rub it on there and then let the tortillas heat. I could fill up the whole thing, but really don't need to do that for the video, but just know you can put about 8 tortillas, medium-sized tortillas on here very easily. I'm gonna heat them up. And the steak's been resting for a little while, so we're gonna go ahead and cut into it and slice it up. Again, cook to personal preference. And also slice to personal preference. So you can slice them really, really thin if you want, which I usually will slice it this way and then I'll cut it up even more. So they're easier to put in the tacos. Right, so some of this is it's pretty rare, it's rare to medium rare, which is what my husband loves. So that's how I like to cook it. But if you want something more done, make sure you leave it on there a little bit longer. I'm gonna slice all the way through. And then I'm gonna slice just diagonals of it so that I can tear it up a little bit more and put them into the burrito. So what I like to do is take some of this steak, set it right here while it's still hot. I like the thin slice avocado because even though it's good, we don't really like giant chunks of it. So I'm just gonna, you can pre-slice them of course, I just didn't do it until now. I'm gonna add a little bit of that on here. Add some of the pico, side of that. And then if you wanted to, you could add some more spicy honey at this time, but I put quite a bit on the steak, so I don't feel like that's needed. And then when you are ready to serve, you will just wrap it up. Let me grab something real quick. And you'll have it ready to go. That is a great carne asada taco. You can eat carne asada steak without even putting it in a tortilla. You can just grab it. People like to just grab it with avocado and pico and just use it as almost like a chip and just eat it off of a tray. Feel free to do that, whatever you want, but it is delicious and it's super quick to cook. So if you have any questions, let us know. Contact us at steelmadeusa.com. Our support team is waiting and ready to answer any questions. If you have questions about the flat top and any utensils or spices, the Firebee Honey is on firebeehoney.com. The Bet Your Asada from Mama Luck Seasoning is on firebeehoney.com as well. Will be coming very soon. Let us know if you have any questions, and thank you so much for watching.